My guest today is Chief Master Sergeant Kendell Clark, the current Wizard Chief and RAPCON Chief Controller at Kunsan Air Base. This is my second assignment with Chief Clark as we spent a year at Osan together. Chief Clark has been in the Air Force for 27 years, and today he shared his insightful thoughts and experiences. He recognizes some of the ways that he has changed and became better throughout his years of Air Force and life experience. For anyone that doesn't make it past the halfway point of this podcast, Chief Clark says that he welcomes and appreciates it when someone of any rank comes directly to him and tells him a problem with an organizational policy or within the facility. He brings up his mentor, Chief Master Sergeant Scott Rollins, a couple times during the podcast. Towards the end, we try to uncover what made Chief Rollins his top mentor. I conclude that it is the individual investment Chief Rollins has towards select individuals. However, that is purely an assumption, and I hope one day I can get a few minutes of Chief Rollins' time to ask him some questions and figure out what he attributes to be his best assets as a leader. Chief Clark and I discuss his upbringing, golf, why people always root for underdogs, the direction he wants to see our career field go towards, benefits of having Korean Air Force air traffic controllers and United States Marine air traffic controllers train alongside the United States Air Force and our air traffic controllers at Kunsan. We also talk about a lot more. Today I got Chief Clark, the current Viper Chief at Kunsan Air Base. Kendell Clark, this is our second base together. It's Mother's Day, and we're knocking this out before he goes golfing, doing his Chief thing on a Sunday. So I usually introduce people, but I'm trying to switch it up and let people introduce themselves. So if you would, just introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, interim Viper Chief. I'm really Wizard Chief, so let's keep that factual and everything like that. Anyway, a lot of people know me as CK. There's some folks out there that know me as Goldie. I go by Wizard Chief here, and I prefer CK though. So about me, right?
Yep.
All right. So from Vallejo, California, representing. There'd be a little story behind the hat that I always wear either way. From the Bay Area, Vallejo, California, like I mentioned. Went to high school in Las Vegas. Been around. Been in the service now 27 years.
It's a long time.
It is a long time. It went by just like that.
Yeah.
Yep. 13 assignments, 6 times the PACAF, 5 times Korea, first time Wolfpack.
Me too.
And having a ball, man. Just having a good time. Let's get it.
Yeah. So I usually just talk. I let people talk, and I run off at 13 assignments. Which one's the best?
Ooh, that's a good question. For years, I used to say Osan was the best one. I think earlier in my career, I always went with March Air Force Base. I still think that Southern California living down there is just unbeatable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I had some good ones like Kadena and things like that. But if I had to choose one, I'm going to say that first assignment, which was March Air Force Base.
Yeah, I feel like just being young, like it's my favorite assignment. When people are like, why? It's like, I don't know, I was young and had all my friends there. Dudes I was with for 5 years. We were all young, just exploring the world with no real responsibility after you got rated.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it's always about the people, right?
It is.
So that social network, it's like a huge thing to every assignment.
Yeah.
You just can't beat it. You can be at the best location ever, right? But if you just don't click with people, you just have a miserable time there.
Yeah. I feel like, you could say it about. Like Germany was cool. Monday through Friday, I just spent all and there wasn't much to do, and I was like, man, I thought this was supposed to be the best assignment.
Yeah.
The weekends were awesome. I can't take away, and the people there were really good too. So it's 27 years. You could have retired 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Why are you still in?
It's the people, man. I'm having fun. I'm having a blast. In fact, there's some emotional roller coaster moments and things like that, but really at the end of the day, I meet some phenomenal folks in the military, and I can speak for the Air Force, but really I would like to say all branches because I've been around them all, and you just got some really, really good folks running around out there teaching things. I'm a learner. I like learning things from different people, It doesn't necessarily have to be like book knowledge. I see you got a ton of books down there, which is a beautiful thing. But it could be about life, maturity, parenting, athlete,
Mm-hmm.
You know, I learn all the time from these folks.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you're trying to take 30 years in and just keep learning and figure it out from there.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if I'll reach the 30 years. As of late, I've always been saying, you know, if I feel irrelevant, then it's time for me to go. In the Air Force, I would say society's in a transition right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could agree.
And there's a new way of thinking. There's a new acceptance on treatment, which is for the better. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But with gadgetry, innovation, rapid mindset changes and things like that, sometimes I struggle, you know, just to keep up. My behaviorisms is kind of like old school. I like writing things down on a board still.
Okay.
You know,
I do that too.
I think really as far as like interpersonal talents and things like that, you know, that'll always be my thing. I'm a social butterfly. Yep. Taking care of people, that's always been a huge priority of mine. And I've also promised my mentor, Scott Rollins, retired, if you guys know him. Phenomenal dude, man. You're going to hear a lot about him
Today,
depending on your questions. Yeah.
Good.
But absolutely, you know, he took care of me in such a way that I just want to give back. I mean, that dude right there is the plumb line for taking care of airmen.
Where's Scott Rollins at now?
Kadena.
Okay. As a civilian?
As a civilian, yep. Doing NAHA arrival.
Do you think when you're, so he doesn't work in the tower?
Nah, he works out at NAHA itself because that's where the Air Force function for arrival is right now.
Okay. Yeah. And is that all civilians?
It is.
Okay. That's too bad that he's not there influencing young airmen, staff sergeants. I
agree, but I tell you what, knowing Scott, man, he's probably on that island mentoring somebody.
Yeah. So something interesting now that you're a chief that I think, like air traffic, we're very, we kind of only care about our own career field. You know, I'm just now starting to care more about other people in the Air Force as opposed to just air traffic. And you can agree with that, right? We all are we care about our own.
There's tribes, right? Mm-hmm. You get very territorial about your tribe. Don't get me wrong. I was going to ask you when you say we, who did you mean by that? Because to be truthful, I've been taking care of airmen for a very, very long time across the board.
Would you say you were ever playing a little bit of favorites for your own people before CE and services and finance?
Nah, man.
Never?
No. I don't play favorites. And, you know, it depends on what we're talking about taking care of. But let's get down to something that's universal that we all can understand, right? The EPRs, right? They may not have a mentor. A lot of them seek out, I got cops, CE, I got LRS folks, Space Command. You mention it, and I'm getting EPRs. Matter of fact, I didn't bring the work phone, but I could show you. There's a ton of seniors sending me EPRs right now, right? But really, there's a lot of NCOs that send them to me, medics, and I don't play favorites. And some of them are on the yard here that would be competing against my folks, right?
Right.
I firmly believe in if you've done the work, you have the content, and we can polish it up. That way, you can be competitive.
So even as like a younger staff tech sergeant, you were focused on the airmen from different career fields. I feel like just being a chief, yeah, you're definitely, you're high vis. Everyone knows you. You're a social butterfly. Or your way of saying it. It's easy. It's easier for people to approach you now, and you have like that bandwidth and all the knowledge to help people out. But you know where I'm at, it's harder. I'm not as competent with EP. If someone asks me for help on their EPR, I feel like I'm good, but it's like, man, I've got so many things to do right now, and my people I need to see my people's EPRs. I don't really have maybe I'm making an excuse, but I'm picking my people before others.
You know, we all have our priorities based on our white space and bandwidth. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But I have a little bit of OCD, so I don't like things unfinished. Mm-hmm. I will literally stay up to like 3 o'clock in the morning, turn around, get a quick nap, and get up at 5 and be at the gym by 6. Just hammering out people's 1206s, EPRs.
Do you find satisfaction in that?
I do, because it's tragic that people don't have mentors like I had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But really, at the end of the day, I would never ask that of other people to do. You know, that's just who I am. Mm-hmm. That's how I'm driven. A little bit about me. I guess I should have shared. I'm a cross trainee, right? It was easy to see in the ABUs that I was a cross trainee because I used to wear my supply badge. But in OCPs with all the patches and it's a little bit much.
Yeah.
So really, right now, I only have the air traffic. But if you ever see me in blues, you'll see another badge. I came in combat control.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I came in combat control. Back then, we called it AFI, right? It was awaiting further instructions. In the 90s, we had bodies spilling out the windows. A lot of people.
For combat control? Or Air
no,
Force?
just in the Air Force.
Okay.
So what ended up happening was a lot of people going through like some sort of formal training would have to wait for your turn. And if you were like, for at least me, combat control, we worked out with the pararescue folks. You were getting smoked every day. Every day. I couldn't take it, man. Mentally, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It never got easy. It was a little bit frustrating. And I had been an athlete my whole life. And so the reason why I bring that up is, even though when I tapped out, they threw me in supply, 1 level, no school, plane ticket straight to March Air Force Base.
You didn't do any kind of LRS tech school?
Nothing.
Wow.
Took my 2 stripes away from me. I showed up a 1 level airman basic and didn't know anything on anything. I was good at basketball, or at least in my mind, I thought I was.
Yeah.
And so I'm getting to this point. I say all of that stuff to say this, that I've always had teams, multiple teams across the base, honor guard. I've been on that 3 times actually, twice at March, once at Osan. So when you're talking about being very territorial, for me, it's a different story. You know what I mean? I've had teams upon teams upon teams across all these bases that I was affiliated with.
Yeah, it's interesting the way you're saying that. I kind of feel like I'm an asshole from the way I presented myself. It's just, I feel like if I don't take care of the controllers, the EOD guy's not going to do it. So I don't know. I see your point, and I should get better at that. I wouldn't say I take care of nobody outside of our career field. I just have to have some kind of relationship with that person.
Well, I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit, right? You do take care of airmen. I watched you, and trust me, if you didn't, I would give you some feedback and be mentoring you.
I appreciate that.
Just ALA alone, look how many career fields that you're impacting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have people focused, so give yourself some credit on that, you know? You don't have to toot your own horn. It really depends on what theme we're talking about with taking care of some airmen. If an airman was in distress on the street, passed out or something like that, you're going to stop and help them.
Of course.
So it really just depends.
Yeah.
It's situational.
Yeah, that's a good point to look at. You were talking about the books and reading. I know you've got a master's degree. How important do you think education is? Because, I'll let you go first.
Knowledge is crucial. Education is just married to it. If people ain't self-investing in themselves, right, just to learn. Now, I'm not going to say reading a book is going to make you smart. There's a difference between being smart and being educated. But education, you can't live without it. You have to self-invest. It expands your vocabulary at minimum. There's a book out there, The Summits of Triumph. I haven't read it yet.
Okay. I haven't heard of it.
It's by Dave Palmer.
Okay.
And I have it earmarked for about 2 years now. Get to read this book, right? It's about the lessons of Vietnam from an Army officer perspective, and how the lack of viable military strategy ultimately lost that war. Now, granted, it's a bigger story than that, right? But that right there, I mentioned that one because that's one that I wanted to read, because I want to see what failures, is in the archives. There's many of them, right? But I firmly believe in failing forward. I'm not afraid of falling short. In fact, one of my philosophies is no matter how big or large, or how small or large the job is, swing hard at it, do your best, put your best foot forward. That way, if you fail or fall short, no sweat.
Yeah.
Put your best foot forward.
Yeah, that book sounds really interesting because one of my favorite books is General Mattis, Call Sign Chaos, and
I was going to read that.
Okay, and he has that it's like one of the appendixes in the back, and it's just like a 2-page read. It's 2 pages on why reading is so important, and he relates it to like there's 2 ways to get experience. One through your own personal experience, which is the hard way because you can only get so much personal experience, or through reading about other people's experiences, which is a little bit easier, and then you learn from their experiences. And he was saying in our job, more so I guess the Marines or military in general, a lot of people are going to lose their lives if you don't read, if you're not prepared. So you can't be, you have to read, you have to get as much experiences. And he relates how him reading and the experiences he learns through other war books helped him like navigate through Desert Storm. And it's really good. And it's like it's just 2 pages. And it's like, okay, I need to read more, like just off that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what we call that?
What's that?
Doctrine.
Doctrine?
Yeah, that's what we call that,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Someone else and done it. They put it on some paper and put it on the shelf for archive for someone else to pick it up,
Right.
blow the dust off, read all the important stuff, read the lessons learned, read the failures on it, right, and get after it.
Yep.
And that's important, especially in our line of work, right? That goes hand in hand in the profession of arms. We got to be professionals at what we do. We should master everything that we do. And we won't probably get there in some different areas, right? But you should learn from it and try to get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like a baseball player, you know? Get up to the plate, strike out, right? Go through his or her emotions, wait their turn, get back at the plate, right? And swing hard at it. I'm not going to let this pitcher do this. I know how he does this time. He give me that curveball. It's going over the bleachers.
Yeah, sports are just great. My dad is not a sports player at all. He wasn't anti me playing sports. He just wasn't very super supportive of it. He supported it, but I see how much I know just from playing sports, and most of the people I get along with are sports players. Actually, you were talking about basketball earlier. It made me think of something. Yeah. And March Madness just recently ended, I guess, last month. Yeah. How do you feel when a 15 seed, or that one time, I forget what 16th seed upset Virginia, number 1 seed? Like, so when the underdog wins, do you get excited about that? Do you start rooting for him?
That's me in a lot of different things, man. I always root for the underdog.
Yeah.
Unless it's my favorite team.
Well, of course, yeah.
Right?
You don't root against your team.
Yeah, I always root for so like when Kansas City beat the Niners in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
What was that? That was not Super Bowl. It was it was
like 2 Super Bowls ago, right?
It was Super Bowl. Yeah, it was two Super Bowls.
Chief
Man,
Rollins.
time is flying by.
Yeah.
I wasn't rooting for Kansas City, man.
Of course not.
Yeah, I'm not going to root for them. But I always do. You know why? Because they got heart, right? I know that they prepared. I know that they sat there and strategized. I know that they had the little hype talk in the locker room, right? I know that they probably walked out saying, we ain't got nothing to lose. We got everything to win.
Yeah.
Right? Heart of a lion. Now, when you take the champs, number 1 team, number 1 seed, or 2 or 3, right? Mm-hmm. They let their ego get the best of them because the optic is different for them.
Yeah.
Right? They may do all those same things that I mentioned, but that right there is like true talent. I mean, those are like franchise players that keep that focus.
Yeah.
You're looking at like the Tiger Woods, the Kobe's, the Jordans, the LeBrons, even the ball boys. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like them jokers, man, long after the gyms have closed, they still putting at it, right? But typically what ends up happening, everybody on the team ain't got that same focus. Their focus is the party.
Yeah.
Yep, afterwards. Like they've already counted this team out.
Yeah. They do that. And so I bring that up because I've kind of always thought this. And so many it's an American thing to root for the underdog. I'm kind of curious what like Asian culture thinks about underdogs, but I can't root for the underdog. Like they're not as good, they're not as prepared. That's why they're their underdog. But for whatever reason in American culture, we just root for the underdog, and I don't get it. It's like when you were telling me before we started this podcast, that time when there was 30 aircraft in Kadena and it was busy as hell. Like, you don't want the underdog in there in that moment. You want the best controller there is. And I don't know. I know that the better team has practiced more. They've trained harder. They had better coaches. Maybe they even had advantages growing up. But I don't know. It's such a weird thing to me that like Americans, we all root for the underdog.
That's true. When you look at teams, though, right, and even collegiate teams, there, typically those well-known ones like Bama. Well, it depends on what sport we're talking about too, right? But if we're talking like, let's talk about like basketball. I think you started with, right? So if you're looking at like the Tar Heels, the Bruins, UCLA, teams like that, their recruiting is huge,
right?
And they don't even have to put in much effort because their fan following, it's just epic. You know what I mean? So they recruit the best talent. They have the best equipment out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you look at like teams that they try and they try hard, let's switch gears to baseball, right? I'm an athletics fan.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have much of a salary, right? And to be honest, they ain't recruiting any franchise player. They turn them into franchise players when they're at a disadvantage. I mean, they take that raw talent and they mold it and shape it to talent. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Their focus is different. And so, there's going to be some teams out there. I tell you what, when you mention American culture or more behavior, really, if it's a blowout, like it's a forecasted blowout, most will watch it until the blowout starts. Mm-hmm. And then they write it off. It's like, this is what we expected. It's a blowout.
Yeah, that's true.
And then they go off and do other things. But if it's a close game,
right.
everything changes. Yeah, everyone's rooting, right? Because now we like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
We're about to have an upset.
I guess that is exciting. It's more exciting.
It is exciting. It is exciting, I think now when we're talking, and that's a behavior, but when we're talking like a culture, right? I think that, that is in us as Americans, right? Because we don't like the deprived, depending on what theme we're talking about again, too, right? But for the most part, like, from a world setting, we don't sit idle when people are deprived.
Yeah.
Right? We want them to have their freedoms. We want them to have their amenities or basic needs.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I still, whenever I see like number 15 beating number 2, I'm like, damn it. That's not supposed to happen. They're lucky and they're going to lose the next game.
I tell you what, if I'm anywhere near Vegas, I put $100 on them. And if I lose it, then it's just $100.
Yeah,
right?
It'd be a lot of money if you don't lose it.
Yeah.
That's an interesting concept. Maybe I'll still not root for the underdog, but at least I'm a little more understanding of why, like just the opportunity they have if they win and the recruitment they'll get, and the lower recruitment Duke will get when they lose as the number 1 or number 2 seed. It's an interesting concept.
Yeah.
Reading wise, what is your favorite book?
Right. It used to be, honestly, a long time ago. They had this book. Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Okay.
You heard of that book?
I've heard of it.
And I used to read that book actually a little religiously. And I want to say when I was like an NCO.
Okay.
Staff Sergeant, Tech Sergeant. I might have glanced at it when I was a Master Sergeant.
What's memorable about that one?
Same concept that we're talking about. Exact same themes, right? There's a silver spoon fed scenario, and typically that'll lead you to a road of success.
Sure.
But typically the behavior of the individual that's on that road just isn't the same as the one that was at a disadvantage. But, here's a twist for you, though. Money doesn't make everything, right?
Sure. Just
being there, having your parent there supporting you and things like that, that's wealth right there. Mm-hmm. But right now, I'm pretty uber focused on golf.
Okay.
Right? So here I am. Many golfers I play with are a lot better than me. I mean, a lot. you look at like Dave Anderson that's out here, right? Dude is a phenomenal golfer. Ralston, right? Your peer, phenomenal golfer. I surround myself around success. Now, what that does is it chips at my ego because I'm a high competitor. I'm extremely competitive. I'm typically good at most things that I get at. But that sport right there, where I'm at in my life, I'm just not that great at. So how do I get better, right? Yeah. Bob Hogan's book, 5 Lessons. So I read that.
Is that a golf book?
It is. Okay. It's actually the fundamentals of golf. So he's a great golfer, right? A legend. And I had a buddy of mine. Actually, he was the command sergeant major of Wismar.
Okay.
Woodford, right? And he said, "Hey, CK, you may want to pick up this book, right? 'Cause I was slicing all over the place, man, losing balls, you know. And that wasn't that I can, but that wasn't that long ago, though.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
How long ago was that? 2 years ago, tops?
2 years ago, max. If I made great connection with the ball, it's more a rarity than a norm. So I read the book, got better, shots got straight as arrow, and then over time it kind of adjusted, and then I just started reading the book again. Shots are straight again, right? There's 5 lessons in that book, but the main ones I keep reading over is the grip is what they call in there, how you hold the club, and the stance, and where you position yourself in relation to the ball. So if I had to say my favorite, it's probably going to be situational, but it's going to be that book right there. It's like my Bible.
Yeah.
It is.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
It is. So no, not Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yeah, the 5 lessons.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my favorite right there. That's like my go-to. In fact, if I'm traveling anywhere, like driving to Osan or Humphreys, that book is with me.
Like Audible?
No, it's an actual book.
Yeah, it's so interesting how soothing and like rewarding it can be to just read a book like that. That's just out of golf, and
knowledge is power, man. I mean, it's really pulling at that happiness cord, right? So
I have it. Yeah, I have it on. Sorry, I do have it on my list. Learn to golf. So now maybe I enjoy reading. So maybe I will buy that book. Whether or not I get around to opening it up is another story.
Oh, you will. You're gonna be hooked on it. In fact, I see you got Throwback up there, right? So you got Chief Master Sergeant Ronnie Throwback Woods, Wolf Chief, Wolf Pack, and about to soon be Kadina's Shogun Chief, right? They don't go by call signs out there. So
did you give him that Shogun Chief, or is that?
Nah, that's who Kadena is.
Okay,
it is Shoguns.
Yeah, I went to school in Kadena. I went to high school in mainland Japan, but we went down to Okinawa for like Far East tournaments and stuff.
Is that right?
Yeah, but go ahead. What about Shogun?
Yeah, so I mean, he's going to be the command chief. That's his next gig this summer, right? But he wants to golf too, and rightfully so. He needs to.
Oh, so you can make command chief without being a golfer. He did it.
Oh yeah, that dude's crazy.
You made chief too without golfing.
I did.
Yeah,
I did. That dude is crazy smart. But I kind of dabbled with it.
Yeah,
you know, throughout my career, nothing really consistent. That didn't come until after I made chief, to be truthful. But you make some real good networking connections out there, right? Yeah. And that's why I encouraged him to buy those same. There's 2 books, but the Bob Hogan book is the most important of the 2. The other one talks about behaviorisms while you're out there, you know, like show up early. That way you can hit the range and work off some small, you know, problems you may be having. You can adjust a little bit. Don't drink on the course, you know, which is actually not a thing, because
ignore that chapter.
Yeah, I mean, like, unless there's a tournament play and people are really, really good, like they're not touching that alcohol. Ralston's one of those dudes.
Oh wow.
Ralston won't even have a beer out there
ever.
He's super good, man. Like, good. And you know, it goes over behaviors like that. I recommend that one. I'm gonna be truthful with it. I keep it 100. I completely discard that one. Right, all the rules on that book, I read them.
Why do I want to golf? I can drink with my buddies. That's the top reason. Yeah. And a little bit of competition.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I should get better at that. Eventually I will, but yeah, absolutely. Like I told Throwback, right? I said, hey, I got 2 books for you. I sent them to him. Hopefully he'll pick them up.
Yeah.
Read them. And that will give you a jump start.
Yeah.
Like literally give you a jump start. Because you're starting out fresh. You don't have any bad behaviors currently right now, bad form or nothing like that. So you're like a sponge. You're taking it all in right now, right?
Yeah. And
so if you read those books, I'm telling you now, you'll be better than an average golfer starting out right out the gate.
That makes a good point. I have a lot of avenues I could take this conversation. The first one being just like I did quick math. If you picked up golf 2 years ago, you were in your 40s when you picked it up, so it's never too late. Obviously, if you're feeling decent, it's never too late to pick up golf. And then another thing you were saying is I don't like doing things if I don't think I'm gonna win. If I don't think I'm gonna be the best at it, I struggle to do it. And I'm getting better at that. So I like playing chess, and I started playing people that are just way better than me. I get my ass kicked every time. Like, they're just wrecking me. But I started reading books, and I'm getting better. Like, they don't beat my ass as quickly as they did. And you just have to, like, accept that you're not going to be the best sometimes, and you're going to lose, and you're going to be better. So you pulling out Dave Anderson and Kyle Ralston to golf, and you being competitive, like, sure, you're still going to lose, but you're getting better.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, just 2 days ago in the first sergeant tournament, I got closest to the hole.
Oh, shit.
Over 20 teams, yeah. And then yesterday, we didn't win at Osan at the maintenance. It was the Armed Forces tournament, really. But maintenance invited us up there, so we all caravanned up there. I can't remember what hole it is, but I put the ball less than a foot from the hole.
From teeing off?
It was a par 3, but yeah, just from teeing off.
How satisfying was that? Like, I know you try to be humble, probably like, oh yeah, I do this once in a while.
I didn't get overly excited because we had some emotional moments out there, right? I couldn't celebrate, right?
Right.
That was one shot out of a lot,
yeah.
And a lot wasn't that great, but I mean, it was good. But I expect my shots to be straight, and when they're not straight, I think that's when I'm more emotional than anything. When they're straight, I expect them to be straight, so it isn't really that big of a deal for me.
Yeah.
Now, here's one thing that you mentioned that I encourage you to try to get after, right? And this is going to work out for life, not just military, right? Don't worry about not being the best, because what it's going to teach you is some humility, and that's important as a human being, man. You got to be humble, and that's who I am. You know me. I'm there's so many principles that I bring from a lot of different themes, right? That makes me humble.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm a chief. I'm supposed to be in charge of the RAPCON, but currently I got you and Callis sitting in there, right?
Yep.
And I don't have you in there as a puppeteer, and I'm not puppeteering. I don't have you as a puppet, right? You guys are making decisions, like real decisions that can get commanders fired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even like I mentioned to you, even if I don't like the decision, we're going to run with it and we're going to learn together. I'll tell you I don't like it, and I'll tell you exactly how I would do it. We had an episode like that already, right? And so not making it about the facility and nothing like that, but really at the end of the day, I just wanted to give an example to the audience there that, being humble, right? That's something that people need to learn and internalize. Because if I didn't, I would be like one of those ATC chiefs that have gone now, right? I won't mention no names, but we can all kind of picture, an individual or 2 or 3 that it was about them. There was no development there, no growth there of others. It was all about them. They couldn't even be humble, right? They're more tyrant than anything.
Yeah.
So I encourage you to take up things that you're not so good at, because you're good at a lot, man. I watch you.
I appreciate
that. You're good at a lot, right? But if you want some growth, you don't want to cap your potential, right? Open up your potential. Keep growing. And that's going to be things that you're not good at, that you're going to have to put some hard efforts in and get emotional over it, right?
I do that sometimes.
Yeah. And you're humble. You're going to be humble about it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. There's just, yeah, I know I need to just like try more things. And every time I try something new, even when I suck, I'm like, oh, it's kind of fun. Like even golf, and I had a girl, you know, AJ. She was here for KFT, and she's a decent golfer. And so I was just out there hitting balls with her, and I like sucked. And I was like, man, this is embarrassing. I just look so stupid. And she's like, hold on, just she showed me how to hold the grip. She showed me to stand in front of the ball. And then that very first swing, it like damn near hit that bullseye thing.
Oh,
you know, I was like, oh shit, like I could pick this up.
That's a straight shot, man.
Yeah.
That book gonna help you. I'm glad that she did that. Right.
Right.
She's a good leader, man.
She is.
In fact, I enjoy the brief conversations that we had. But one thing that I picked up on her, right, is that she remains humble as well, and she made it about everybody else while she was down here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Coming from 7th Air Force and everything like that. That's another example right there.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not going in and out on a headset. I can hear myself going in and out. I think it's just because I'm looking over or I'm moving over and things like that. Hopefully it comes through clear. But, yeah, humility's everything as well.
Yeah. You're doing fine. Everything's coming through pretty clear for me. And then, like, if it's a little faint, we can just boost up the volume later, and it'll make it all clear.
Cool. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. I do want to pick up golf. It's like one of the few things on my goal board I did not do here. Derek Pace invited me out a few times, and I just was getting so angry that he was good and I wasn't. So I was like, nah, man, quit inviting me. I just want to drink.
Oh, man. You mentioned old Poncho. Yo, Poncho, what's up, man? So that dude right there, that's my family right there, man. Like, I'm a big Pace fan. There's several of them out there I can say that to, but that dude, yeah, I'd do anything for that dude.
Yep.
Same. But so you mentioned chess, man. I play chess too.
Oh shit, we should have like pulled out a chessboard here and played as we talked. That would have been cool.
It would have been cool. I'll come back. I'll come back and do this. Right, you're not leaving until the summer, so yeah, 100%, man. We'll chat again, and we'll play a little game of chess. You know.
Yep. That would be fun.
Yeah, I try to be real open-minded about different things I pick up. You know. Mm-hmm. And like I say, I like learning. So, but chess was one of the games my father taught me.
That's cool.
Yeah. Actually, my stepfather taught me that. Both my dads were in my life.
Okay.
And literally in my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he taught me quite a lot too. But yeah, he taught me chess.
So something I wanted to ask, and I'm glad I didn't about 10 minutes ago when you were talking about one of your, I guess not your favorite book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, just the different advantages you get, I'm assuming, by who your parents are when you're born, something you can't control. Mm-hmm. I've only heard this through other people. And you saying you had two dads, I was like two father figures is probably really fucking great for development.
It was.
So I had heard through other people, and if this is wrong, correct me, but I heard you've been here for 27 years, 28, 29 years ago. What were you doing?
Ooh. 28, 29.
And we can edit this out if that's not what you want to talk about.
No, it's all good, man. Okay. Like I was affiliated, right? Mm-hmm. I was affiliated with Bloods. I was ripping and running them streets in Vegas. Also, I was juggling a lot. Also trying to go to college there in Vegas and also work, right? Did Department of Transportation, highway maintenance. But to be truthful, the reason why I joined the Air Force was to get away from my stepfather.
Okay.
Yeah, he was trying to be a real positive figure in my life. But as I got older, the influence of my affiliation and my friends just got the best of me and my brother. Yeah. So we were always getting into some heated arguments, man. Beyond argument, actually, it got physical.
You and your brother?
Me and my father.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and by that time, I don't know if I went delayed enlistment when they threw me out the house, but at some point in time, I went delayed enlistment. I don't know if it was during that particular time when he pulled his gun and pointed it at me and said he was going to shoot me. And my mom jumped in front of the gun and then said, "I gotta go." Right. Those are the moments that I'll never forget. But yeah, I lacked a little maturity and growth, and I didn't really appreciate what he was trying to give me at the time.
Sure.
But here's a funny thing. The very last time we got into a really, really bad physical altercation or argument, I called the recruiter. I was on delayed enlistment. I called the recruiter and said, hey, if you don't get me out of here now, I'm not joining the Air Force. Like, I need to get out of here, like, right now. And within the next couple of days, they sent me a plane ticket.
You didn't care what your job was. You're just like, get me out.
Yeah. And actually, they didn't send it. I had to go get it at the recruiter thing. But, and that's what started my journey in the military. So here's an interesting thing. My folks didn't even know. I never told them I was on delayed enlistment. I just needed to escape. But the day I was leaving, I said, hey, I'm out. I'm going to the Air Force. They were like, what? Shocked.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I'm going to Air Force. And I want to say if it wasn't the next couple of days, even going through MEPS or whatever, it was surely when I got the basic that he became like my best friend again and mentor.
That's nice.
Yeah. He had, so my stepfather been in the Air Force for 24 years as well.
Okay. What did he retire at?
Master Sergeant. Okay. He lost senior. He made senior. He lost it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. That's what pushed him out too.
Okay.
But he made it. He lost it. And so that was like a long-term goal of mine. Right?
Yeah.
I only wanted to make senior. I wanted to make it and put it on. Yeah. And then I was going to ride out in the sunset. I told you I'm highly competitive, right? Yep. And so, just continued. But at the end of the day, that 24 years that he had in was invaluable. Yeah. And he was going through he was in the Air Force, man, during some trying times, including Vietnam. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's what happened, man. Prior to me tooling around and joining the Air Force, it got pretty.
Yeah, it's really.
Pretty chaotic in the house.
Where do you think you'd be at had you not joined, or when you called that recruiter? He's like, "Sorry, man, you got 4 more months to wait." Where do you think you'd be at now?
I would have a record. I would have some sort of record. Yeah. I don't know if it would have been like a heinous crime or a felony or anything, but I mean, we were already playing around with guns and things like that, and I used the word play a little loosely, not making it about that. I probably would not be the most responsible citizen in society.
Yeah, and that's something I like really enjoy pondering and thinking about is you called that recruiter saying, get me out now, and he could have just been like, whatever, I've got a bunch of other dudes I can get through. Don't join, man. It's such an easy decision for that guy and him deciding or her deciding, okay, I'll get you in a job this week. Yeah. Like it changed your entire life trajectory.
It did. 100% it did. And, you're right because there's a lot of candidates out there. You know what I mean? I don't know if the recruiter's like, yeah, we better get him on up out of here or this one's going to end up in jail or whatever. But, I mean, I wasn't horrible, but I definitely wasn't no role model.
Yeah. And it's cool. And because that recruiter did that, look where you're at now. And now you're influencing all sorts of people, not just air traffic.
That's true.
Everybody.
That's true.
So something else you've done influence-wise, I remember being at Osan and I would see you, like I would come in on the swings. There's no flying. I get to leave at 8 p.m., 5-hour workday. Great. And you're there. I know you got there at 8. I'd go up to my tower, leave, walk by your office, and you're in there at 8 p.m. Like, hey, like, what are you doing here? You're like, I've got some EPRs to write. And I'm just like, okay. And then, and you see that. And we've had this conversation before. And like me as a tech at the time was like, well, I don't ever want to get that job. Like that's just what people think. So do you ever think about like the hours you put in, the time you invest in people? As great as it is for us, it's maybe like a deterrent for other people to stick around.
I think it can be. I would ask people not to use that as some sort of measuring stick. There's other great, phenomenal chiefs on this base that have different philosophies. Sheriff Chief.
He'll be here on Tuesday.
Andrew Schoen.
Yep.
He gonna be here
Schoen,
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Yep.
Yeah, he has a different practice, right? Once Air Force Boogie plays, he knows it's time to start packing up.
6 p.m., huh?
Yeah.
I'm asking about that.
Yeah, ask him about it. Ski has another one, which is Falcon Chief.
Yep.
And I can't remember what when he packs up, but I want to say, at the end of the day, he also packs up. Me, I just don't like things unfinished.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I know that I won't be able to get through all of them, all the tasks, all the work, all the EPRs, all the 1206s. But if I can just knock out as many as I can until I'm exhausted, literally mentally exhausted, I'm gonna go that course.
Is that daily? You just go until you're mentally exhausted?
Daily.
Has it gotten easier?
Writing?
Well, I guess just the amount, getting exhausted. Does it take longer to get exhausted? Can you stay around longer than you used to be able to?
No, because it really depends on the level of work that I'm doing. If I'm typing and polishing up like a memorandum that's, representing or going in MAGCOM or half or even for the wing, I want to make sure I'm putting the right mental strength into it, using the right vocabulary, because words matter.
Sure.
Right. And, there was one email. It wasn't even that long that I had to write for my couple previous wing commanders ago. General Betts now, but at the time was Colonel Betts.
At Osan?
He was
okay.
Osan, right?
I didn't know he made general.
Yeah, he's got a star now, rightfully so. He asked me to write a ghost email for him, and it was about taking care of airmen. Mm-hmm. Right? Airman was in distress. We had to put some brain power together and try to kind of divert him on his assignment. And Colonel Betts, General Betts, absolutely was 100% engaged on it. And my boss at the time, Colonel Walls, Wing Commander Moody right now, getting ready to graduate from his wing command tour, they were highly supportive of it. So why do I bring that up? Man, I'm writing an email, a ghost email. And here's
I actually don't know what that is. What's a ghost email?
I didn't know either.
Okay, I was like, man, I'm going to pretend I know this. I don't know what it is.
I didn't either at the time.
Okay.
Coming out of MAGCON, we called it something different. We called them like I think it was a QFT or QTF or something like that. We called it. It was an acronym or abbreviation, sorry. And so I didn't know what it was, but he asked me to write it, and without even skipping the beat, I was like, all right, boss, gotcha.
So I got to figure out what this is.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. And then I sat there like 10 seconds later and like, wait a minute, what did I just sign up for? You know what I mean? Yeah. I actually had to go to my boss, Colonel Walls, which was there. It's like, I don't know what he means by ghost email. And the ghost email is he wants me to write his email for him.
Okay.
Right? You can do that in a feature in Outlook, but to make it very simple, write his email, send it to him. He'll put his signature block on it, right? Actually, I would already have it in there. Mm-hmm. He'll wordsmith it to his satisfactory, and then he'll send it off.
Okay. It's just an email that's going to take a lot of effort and thought and to put into. So to have someone else do it, then he just reads it and hits send.
Yo, brother, that email was draining for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was right off the cuff, right? Draining. Like I put everything I had into an email. And the reason why it was draining, it wasn't that it was something that was so hard for me, but it was because I was representing multiple teams. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Are you able to tell me who that email was going to?
Yeah, it was going to the assignment manager.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, for that airman who. Okay.
Yep, it was going to that person's assignment manager. Courtesy copy in the functional train and all that, but it was going to the assignment manager. We got them diverted too.
Awesome.
Right? They were giving us resistance at first, but it was exhausting. The reasoning I had to put in there, the vocabulary that I had, the word selection and things like that. Mm-hmm. It was hard for me, but it wasn't necessarily a hard email. The reason why I made it so hard was the pressure I put on myself because I was representing so many teams, right? I couldn't let the Chiefs down, mm-hmm. right? That's one team. I couldn't let my boss down, right, which was the group commander. I couldn't let air traffic down, where it's some factions out there would say that we're were pretty intelligent,
I would hope
right,
so.
and resilient, right? I just couldn't let those teams down.
Yeah.
And at the time, I couldn't let the Wyverns down, which was the OSS. I couldn't do it
Yeah.
and wouldn't do it. And so I think he changed like 3 or 4 words out of an email, and then I felt pretty proud, like I had a trophy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Matter of fact, if General Betts is out there and ever come across this email, I should get coined for that.
I didn't know Chief still look for coins.
Yeah, man, we don't really, but I feel like, I should get it like his general coin or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool. So going back to like education, I've not calling people out, but I've seen some people, my peers, who like miss the difference between two and there and there. And I'm just like, come on, man, like, you got to know these things. And if they just went through a little bit of college, hopefully they would get hounded on that shit enough, lose enough points to where they figure out the difference between these simple.
They would, and they could, and some of it, I'm gonna throw them a lifeline that it's probably not all their fault either. And the reason is, it's a combination of things. One, it could be that. Mm-hmm. 2, it could be the autocorrect and technology, because that goes out like on my email sometimes too, completely butcher words and not even have the right word. I'll put one word in there and then it divided up to three different words, right? And or they're probably blazing so fast because they have multiple things to do that they fail to proofread.
That's fair. Yeah.
And I've been a victim of that.
I have to. Like, I'll hit send, and then whenever that little thing says that puts in your PIN code, if that pops up, I always hit cancel and read it again. I'm like, this is a sign. Like, I missed something, didn't I? Yeah,
I tell you what, man. There's people out here, even on this base, that's received email from me, and then they see me recall it like 2 times, yeah. Right? Because each time that I did a proofread while multitasking, I'm like, oh, man, I misspelled that word, right? Yep. But I don't want the email out there, even though I sent it to 50 recipients.
That's fair. Right. I do that top 3 thing, and I sent out one, and I spelt the word there wrong. I did it wrong. I forget which one. I was like, I was just so mad. Like, every chief and senior NTO is going to think I'm an idiot. Yeah, I just couldn't get it out of my head. And obviously I'm still thinking about it.
I'm hoping that people don't judge so much, right? Initially they'll see it and identify it. Hopefully they're not judging. I don't judge because I know I've been a victim of that. Mm-hmm. But I can tell you what, if I ever done that, the whole top 3, everybody is getting a recall.
Yeah, I tried. But so many people, it was like 10 o'clock on a Tuesday. Like, too many people had read it. So I got so many failure.
Yeah, that's okay, though. As long as I can catch 1, 2, or 3 of them, right? That's a less number than everybody thinking that I don't know how to spell, right?
That's true.
So, that's just my thought on that, right? It'll bother me, right, when I see it. And I, that's something that you got to, put in, you got to cement that behavior, like proofread.
Yeah.
But to this day, I'll fire out an email, and especially on the work phone. I try not to send out emails on the work phone, but sometimes I just have to. Like, all day Friday, I was working off my phone. And sure enough, that phone will every time make me a victim.
Yep.
Right? And I'm not proofreading. I keep telling myself, oh, proofread.
Yep.
And on the phone, I can't recall.
Yeah.
I can't. I actually thought about
permanently look stupid.
I actually thought about running to the office and recall, but I said by the time I get to my office, fire up the computer, let all the COM patches go through, right? That the whole hour and a half of that circle it's thinking, the circle of death, that everyone would have opened the email by then.
Maybe these master sergeants I was thinking of 10 minutes ago are actually better than me and you, because they're like, fuck it. Like, I'm just going to be known as the guy that doesn't know 2 and 2 and not stress out so much.
Yeah.
Or something so simple.
100%.
Maybe I've got it figured out.
Yep.
New avenue. So something else, knowing you do all these things, writing ghost emails for now generals, I know you and Chief Davis were eligible for CFM. I think that would be a phenomenal opportunity to be that close to being the leader of all of air traffic.
Yeah.
How do you even get to like that point? I guess, like, that opportunity. Did you want to do that? Did you get an interview? I know you were close to getting that job.
No, you don't get interviewed, man. You gotta have. Well, I take that back. You do get interviewed, right? So that's a sit position. But I would like to say just stick around the career field long enough, and then you'll be in that category. Mm-hmm. Now, when I say that, I want people getting confused by that. You got to go through. You got to get your scar tissue. So you got to go through several different tierings, right? So you're gonna manage some facilities, Tower and RAPCON. You're gonna do some staff work, right? You got to be at the MAGCOM, sitting in the MFM seat, getting on a strategic level and things like that, and be pretty knowledgeable. Billy Davis is a phenomenal dude. He sat in as a MFM 3 times.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
He took USAFE, and USAFE is a beast in itself, just based on the complexity of the theater. Mm-hmm. I'm going to argue and say PACAF is more beastly than USAFE. You know, there's going to be some arguments over that, right? But I know I favor PACAF being in it 6 times now. It's the largest MAGCOM as far as a geographical area that it covers. But, you know, you got to know, like, you're going to have to know what the challenges are. And rightfully so, know some successes as well, what works and what doesn't work and things like that. That dude, phenomenal guy. I wish I could be the CFM. I do, but I wouldn't be as good as Billy Davis is. And he's only been in the seat, I think, now a year, less than a year.
Yeah.
And he's making huge strides. And if I know a lot of people really like Billy Davis, man. I mean, that dude is a phenomenal dude. He stayed connected to the airmen his whole career.
Yep, I can see it. He was USAFE functional when I was at Spangalum, and he would just be in it twice. I just saw him in the tower cab chilling there, just plugged in, listening, saying hello to everyone. He was a guest speaker at the Chief Controller course I went to the other month.
Oh, is that right? You guys got a good treat then. And based on, you know, his experience, his interpersonal skills, he keeps it 100.
I would say that interpersonal skills is what he does really well.
Really well. And I think that that's something that you should have. All those are ingredients to a really highly successful CFM, and he has all that. In fact, he's mastered all that stuff. So he's going to do great things. He's doing great things. But here's one thing that he can do. I always like to say that chiefs can't Jedi other chiefs. Billy Davis can. Because he gets everybody's buy-in.
Yeah.
There's not one soul walking out there that won't do something for Billy Davis. Now I got to caution a lot of folks, man. Don't leave anything around. Anything. Because he's going to commandeer it. He's going to procure it, as he likes to say. Yeah.
Nice word.
Yeah, don't leave anything around him. Or you're going to be a victim of Facebook posts. Yep. You know, but yeah, the dude's phenomenal. Initially, I never wanted to be CFM, to be honest.
Okay.
I didn't. And to be truthful, my focus, if I was the CFM, wouldn't be what the focuses are, what Billy Davis is doing right now.
Yeah, that's what I really wanted to ask, because I know he's doing the tiering system. He's doing the Warrior Airmen. Was that what it's called? Fully functional? You know what I'm talking about, the air traffic controller is doing more than just air traffic control.
Yeah, so that's ACE, right?
ACE, okay.
Yeah. So,
I'm curious, what would you be doing?
I'm going to change behaviors.
Okay.
Right? I'm so fed up with, I'm sorry, let's have an amnesty hour. I'm fed up with folks not trying to learn the job, whatever the job is, particularly facility managers. I'm tired of our senior NCOs gaming, the whole gaming ship. I'm tired of our senior NCOs thinking that getting promoted is all linked to a duty title. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of and here's the thing, right? Some of them are tyrants in their facility because they refuse to loyal down as well as loyal up and take care of the airmen. They say they're taking care of airmen, but they're not taking care of airmen. They're not. Yeah. They're not learning what they're supposed to be doing as far as a competency level from our senior NCO on O, T&E, O&M, right? And then development of airmen. Instead, what they're doing is they get the duty title, they focus on ops. Some of them may do the administrative, but not all of them. And then they want to complain why they're not put in a position of promotion opportunity. And there's some maturity growths that need to happen there. Clean up your facility. Make sure every last person has the right SCIs attached, every single one, because really the SCIs, and I would argue some senior NCOs don't even know what SCIs are for. They think it's for assignments. We use them for assignments out of convenience. But they're really for deployments. So when you don't have your folks registered under the right SCI, right, it kind of causes some confusion. Mm-hmm. So that's just one example. Just one example. Make sure your folks is doing that non-radar right. Make sure they're decombining, in our case, the scopes all the time, even when we have small amount of traffic, right? Because we don't want manpower doing an audit and trying to take some authorizations that's a lot bigger than theirs. Yeah. You know what I mean? So when you ask me what I would do as a CFM, the only focus I really had was making people authentic again and genuine and chase competency.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not literally, and I got to tell the audience this, right? If you're not qualified to do whatever particular job, like hold the seat, then you're not qualified. There's nothing against that right now. It isn't. It's just not your turn. Get out there, learn that stuff, be qualified, and you're gonna run a facility.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do.
Most master sergeants, when they come in there, they think that, hey, I'm supposed to be chief controller. Damn the senior in the tower billet, right? Damn the chief billet, right? And then here's the key. Here's another kicker for you, right? Most people in the facility, when we're talking about a RAPCON, thinks that a chief is only supposed to be in a RAPCON. Mm-hmm. No, you're not. That dude is the chief enlisted manager of a whole entire unit. If you got seniors running around your unit, right? Who are the airmen supposed to go to if they had a problem with that senior? But if you make yourself so tribal and you're only in a RAPCON and you only focus on the RAPCON and you're only affiliated with the RAPCON, all those airmen are going to be in distress because you haven't built relationships. There's no loyalty and trust there. And they're like, yo, we got a chief in the squadron, but dude's ATC, all he thinks about is RAPCON.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that insight. Because I've talked to you. I've told you, hey, man, I know it's selfish, but I just want you here. Hey, Chief, I just want you here. I know you got to do your thing, but I saw you do it at Osan. Why aren't you doing it here? And you usually give me the right answer in the moment, but I haven't heard it just broken down like that. Like, yeah, if you're stuck in the RAPCON, you don't have anyone else's back. So it's interesting to see that. We're all selfish, and it's like, I still want you in the RAPCON 5 days a week, but I get it. Like, I get it. And something you brought up earlier, me and Callis being your assistants together, you know how I felt about that at first. I was like, man, like a two-headed organization, just like none of my books will ever say like you should have two assistants and one primary, and the primary is there 30% of the time. I was very like not thinking it was going to work, seeing the people before me doing it. I was like, I don't know if that's really working. And it was cool for me. Like, at least I could tell you that. I could tell you, I don't think this is good. And for you to just be like, well, you're doing it. And it is cool. And it's an opportunity because I am learning a lot. I'm still like, I've actually been like making a list of things that worked out really well with having two and things that aren't working out. And I plan on giving you that before I leave because I'm on the fence on it now. I was anti, now I'm on the fence. But it is like just cool to try new things. And like when a chief says you're doing this, you just do it and make the best of it. Yeah, I don't know if you want that list or not. I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah, no, and I also solicit 360 feedback, right? Mm-hmm. So before you leave, definitely give me any feedback you have, But here's the deal on that, man. There's a couple things that you mentioned I want to address. Sure. So when we were at Osan, that was 2017 and 19, folks. So when we were at Osan together, and I was primarily in the RAPCON, right?
Yep.
The reason why that happened is because the commander endorsed having a senior master sergeant as the superintendent, which is my normal posture.
Yeah.
Right? I always try to do that. This commander weren't having it.
What about White Sands?
Oh, I had 3 jobs there
shit.
too. Yeah,
okay.
But I did have a senior in the squadron.
Okay.
I did.
Yeah.
Right? But they actually told me I had to be at Holloman 2 days a week out of the week. And so here's the thing with that. Here's something that I learned. So the 7th Air Force Command Chief Phil Hudson, which was previously our command chief, the 51st, right, the Mustangs, highlighted a failure that I did because I had blinders on. You weren't present.
Okay.
But every chief and commander in the IG was. And the UEI team was. They were present. So we had a situation in the tower. And I won't say the person's name. But we had a situation in the tower, and one of the watch supervisors, staff sergeant to you guys out there, frontline supervisor, was in distress because of the facility manager, right? And a red flag package, which the packets kept slipping day after day after day after day after day, and they were supposed to be gone a week prior to the UEI inspection. You remember that?
No.
You weren't there? You probably left already.
Yeah.
So the packets kept slipping. Here it is now, a Sunday night, and the package is departing. The whole package. But guess who's on the base now?
Who?
The UEI team. MAGCOM's home base. Because Mondays are in brief, and then the UEI inspection was going to kick off. Right? So, and it was slipping because of weather. They were going to Red Flag, Alaska. And so it sounded like war at 1 o'clock in the morning. Every single jet, it was historic. Osan was able to put every jet in the air. Every single jet, F-16 wise, launched for Red Flag arrival, or Red Flag Alaska, sorry. And then 4 of them were going to come back if everybody made it, right? Every 16 on that base launched at 1 in the morning, and the inspection team was like, oh my goodness, what the hell's going on? That's what they said later.
They've been on base for like 4 hours.
Yeah. And then so what ended up happening was they were like, we got to get to the facilities and see how they're doing.
Yeah.
They wanted to seize the opportunity. Guess who was in the tower?
I'm guessing one person.
One person. Which is not the smartest posture to have, right? The dude was overwhelmed, said he was overwhelmed, knew he was overwhelmed, and had his fingers crossed and prayed that no emergency happened because he wouldn't be able to handle the sheer amount of traffic volume that was on the frequency. And they asked him, well, why didn't you call your facility manager and get some help? You know what he said?
No.
I was scared because I know I'll be in trouble if I do it. Reprisal.
Yeah.
In fact, he's mad at me. That's the reason why I'm on the mid shift. He put me on the mids because he's mad at me. It was valid too. They went to the RAPCON. There was 2 bodies in there, or 3 bodies in there. Appropriately. Now, the facility manager didn't know that the package was actually going to depart. He didn't get the email.
Okay.
Right? And as far as, providing him an alibi, it was a valid alibi, right? But the focus was the supervisor was scared to call because of, some sort of reprisal was going to happen. I had no idea, nor did I know the treatment of what was going on. So they interviewed him, right? And the feedback that the MAGCOM got was shocking. Toxic environment, toxic leader, Long story short, we're now in the in brief. And then the MAGCOM IG team brings this up, this whole scenario. And then it explodes. Because they talk about the reprisal, airman distress, all that stuff, right? And then the command chief, Phil Hudson, says this is CK's fault. My commander came to my aid, tried to defend me, but Phil was having none of it. And said, no, this is CK's fault. This is CK's fault because instead of realizing he's the chief of that squadron, he just kept himself secluded in his RAPCON because that's all he was focused about was his RAPCON. Instead of looking at that he had other airmen out there, he would have known. And those airmen, based on the relationship, would have known that he would have stopped anything that they were in fear of. But they didn't know that because he didn't have that relationship and that trust with him.
Right.
Because he stayed in the RAPCON. And I sat there and thought about it for a minute. Everybody was listening. And I was like, valid. That was a valid point. He was right. He was right. I allowed the senior to be the CMS or be the squadron superintendent, which allowed me to just solely focus on the RAPCON instead of making my rounds, building those relationships, knowing that I am the highest ranking enlisted member in the squadron. And for a good portion, it was the group. Right? So, yeah, I learned on that.
Yeah, that's I don't think I was there. Now when you were telling the story, I was like, maybe I was there because I kind of remember some of these things slightly, but we don't have to pinpoint when it was. But that is a cool for you to preface it with like I had blinders on, and then you're telling the story, and I'm seeing it. Like, yeah, had you been more involved, you might have been able to catch that.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is that was a complex.
Right.
The tower is literally linked to the RAPCON. And they didn't have any trust to come downstairs because they only looked at me as a RAPCON chief controller instead of the chief.
Yeah, not at all trying to put salt in the wound, but I did see you were a hardworking chief, and we would see each other at the bars around Osan when we were allowed to go there. But yeah, I definitely didn't think you were, I was going to my senior. I wasn't going to you. I just didn't have that relationship with you. So that's an interesting point.
Yeah.
Be more accessible.
Got to be more accessible, man. Absolutely, right? And that's something that hopefully you'll learn from that as well. And when you become a chief, right, that'll be at least in the back of your head that, it's not all about the functional track.
Yeah. I appreciate saying it, and I feel like I'm a lot to learn before I can get up there, but it's nice to hear people think that. Yeah. So I know you were talking about Scott Rollins earlier, right? That was your mentor. If you had to pick your top mentor throughout your 27 years,
it sounds like it's easily, without a doubt.
So
I don't even have to think about it.
Let's pinpoint what Scott Rollins did to be your number one of 27 years of people you've met.
Yeah, man. So I would say that his presence, really, and it wasn't his physical presence, but his presence. So here's the deal, man. Scott, I was a staff sergeant when I met Scott, and he was a master sergeant. We were at Nellis. He was in charge of Nellis Tower. He was chief controller there, right? Chief Hanning was the chief running around the base, and he was in charge of the RAPCON. I was going to get out. I was going to go to FAA. They would parade me around the base and things like that. But either way, so they were parading me around the base to talk to these leaders and stay in and things like that. And eventually Shane Sheehy, a civilian, I don't know if he's retired now, but he actually asked me, was I still having fun? I said yes, so that kept me in. But Scott reinforced it and said, hey, if you re-enlist, I'll make you my assistant chief controller. I had a line for tech sergeant now.
Okay.
And I said, cool, yep, let's do it, right? And we waited out the old regime because he had orders, and which is Charles Weaver. And once he rolled out, he threw me in the seat, right? Now, here's the deal. I've only been with Scott from 2004 to 2006. Mm-hmm. But Scott, as far as I knew him, always kept saying I was going to be a chief one day. Always. And the principles, the dude, some of them were a little bit brutal for me. Like, I hated running, right? He came in, threw a reflector belt at me one day, and I'm like, what is this for? He was like, because I don't want you running in the dark. And I'm like, running in the dark? What are you talking about, right? He would wait for the most brutal conditions or the sun go down and then make me go do a 2-mile run every day. Because he kept saying that, staff isn't the caboose and never will be the caboose. The only way he could ensure I would never be a caboose was to make me go run.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, he did a lot of different little principles and invested in me, even writing, right? I remember him telling me that I had to learn how to write EPRs and them sort of things. He had a binder, and he wanted me to read out of that stuff all the time and pick up, technique and vocabulary and those sort of things. But eventually I had orders. This is my second time at Nellis. I hit it 8 years, and they, General Rue at the time wanted everybody that had been at Nellis for 5 years to leave, and I wasn't there for 5 years at this stint. But they said that with the 2 times combined, it was 8 years, because I had like a year and a half in between that I was an instructor, or 2 years in between I was an instructor, and then I had a humanitarian back. Okay. But so I left. I said those dates were important. So 2004, 2006, 2 years, right? Scott Rollins stayed in my life every single year. He gave me a whole bucket list of things to do before I departed, and said, hey, I want you to do these things. Some was education, getting bachelor. Some were different jobs within the career field. Some were leadership opportunities, amongst the base and private orgs and those sort of things. And every year he hit me up, where you at with the list?
Yeah.
All right. Until I depleted the list. At the same time, he always wanted my EPR. He wanted to go over it. He wanted to tweak it. He wanted to write it every single time. If I didn't get it fast enough, man, he was contacting people. He did that till I made chief.
It's a lot of investment.
It was a lot of investment.
Yeah.
It was a lot of investment.
You think he was doing that for multiple people?
Probably. He was a mentor to my little brother up at Osan, Chief Maddox.
Okay.
Yeah, but Maddox doesn't look at him as his primary mentor like I do, right? He had Ox Wilson, but for me it was easily Scott Rollins, easily.
Yeah, that is like, obviously who doesn't want to be a mentor? Who doesn't want to get looked up to, especially when you're at where you're at, and just the amount of investment of time and care to do something like that for someone once they've PCS'd and left your base. There's people that chuck up, but they don't give you a list and be like, where you at on this fucking list?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Have you done that for people since you learned that from him? Have you done it for others?
I do, man, and they make it really easy in the Air Force now. So they got that mentoring on the portal. People link into you.
I don't know about that.
You don't know it?
Nope.
Yeah, man, it's on there.
What's it about? What is it? I don't know it.
So people will find you, link into you, right? And then it will give you an email alert that, hey, this person has added you as a mentor, and then write down some goals you can communicate through this particular program.
And so you're just reaching out to people you've never heard of?
If they link up with me, I will, but typically it's people I know.
Okay.
And if they want it on that type of site, you know. But for the most part, I always communicate through email or phone calls and things like that.
That seems way more genuine than using the Air Force system for a mentor, I guess.
It is. And to be honest, I didn't know about it until I started getting the requests.
Okay.
Yeah, and then when I was getting the requests, I was like, oh, I never really paid attention to it, but it's on there, right? And if they want to communicate that way, I can do that.
Yeah.
But typically when the EPR times, I get flooded with EPRs across the Air Force, man.
I bet.
Flooded.
I bet.
But, I'll polish them up, help them, also give them some feedback on how their writing style was or, how to get after some things. I have a lot of investments out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but getting back to it, Scott Rollins, my mentor. That's my man right there.
I see it. You can't really beat someone who's putting that much time into it.
Every year, man, from 2004, he had some sort of influence on my EPR.
That's a long fucking time. 17 years.
Until he retired, which was 2015.
Yeah. Yeah. Finding investments that you're interested in, or like, that's what something I'm starting to get better at. It's like, what do I enjoy doing? ALA. I actually enjoy just talking around, talking about leadership ideas and experiences. That's why, and then it led me a podcast would be a pretty cool idea. I can do that on a bigger scale or with different people, more personal. Just finding things that you enjoy to occupy your time and get better. What would you say some of the things that you do? Do you have?
Oh man, I think leadership, mentorship, development. Some of the principles I talk about, or our voice aren't necessarily always just focused on airmanship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's things that people can use, tools they can use in life.
Yeah.
I enjoy talking about that.
Yep.
I also like being a shoulder for folks to lean on. That way I can kind of talk them off the ledge and things like that, you know, and hopefully they do the same, and some do. Most do.
Sure.
You know, I'm pretty open. I'm an open book, as you know.
I do.
I'm not going to hold no punches back. I'm going to tell you if you like it or not. I'm going to tell you.
Yep.
Right? I don't mean to offend nobody or nothing like that, but I'm not holding anything back.
Yeah.
I would choose my words so I'm not offensive, but if it hurts some feelings, then so be it. It's going to have to hurt your feelings for you to listen.
Yeah, hurting feelings is funny. So at ALA, you have like 2 moments where you're invested in it for this last class. You did the Wolf Tank, Shark Tank thing, and you said no to every idea that was pitched to you. And I remember you saying, like, guys, I feel like an asshole here because I'm the only one saying no. But you get like these ideas are like fully thought through. I don't think they're gonna work. And I remember thinking that was like cool because I'm sure there was some pressure just to say yes to making a staff sergeant feel good about their idea, and you no.
No, I'm not. There was no pressure for me, man. I'm not gonna make you feel good when it's not authentic. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. That way, you know, you can get the truth and get better. Yeah. Right? You often heard me say scar tissue, right? I'm going to give them that scar tissue.
Right.
I'm not out to help and foster and you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Nurture your feelings. I'm not going to do that. That's not what you signed me up to do.
Right.
Right? So I'm not going to sit there and blow smoke up your just so it makes you feel better. I'm going to come 100, right? And I don't care what the rank is. Mm. I don't. Now, what I will do is I'll have some tact about me so I'm not, you know, coming off offensive like I mentioned.
Yeah.
Even with commanders. You know, with them, I would say I have to caution you. I use that type of vocabulary when it's the commander. Yeah. But I'm going to give them that real. I owe it to them.
You ever met a commander that doesn't want you to do that?
Not one.
Yeah, that should make it more like hearing that. I feel most commanders do appreciate that.
Yeah, not one. I haven't met a person that didn't want it. Not one. Yeah. Now, you know, Maddox tells me this. He's Chief Maddox, Michael Maddox. That's up there at Osan, getting ready to retire and look at better things in his next life. He says that I have this natural ability just to connect to people. Mm-hmm. Scott Rollins said that too. I do believe that. I'm a social butterfly. I think that's the reasoning why I'm pretty successful at that. But either way, he says that because at all ranks, you know, I naturally be able to connect to them where, you know, they understand that, hey, if I'm saying it, then I'm giving you authentic feedback. Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things I've thought of. The first one being like, if someone's not telling you where you're fucking up, then it's because they've stopped caring about you. You know, you stop telling people what they're fucking up because you don't care about them. You don't care if they get better. You don't care if they learn. You're just over them, over trying to develop them.
Or they're trying to get something out of you.
Yeah, sure.
Right? If they're trying to feed into your ego, mm-hmm. right, it doesn't necessarily mean they're stopped caring about you. They're trying to use you too.
Sure.
Right? They're just trying to buddy brown nosing, what we call it, right? Yeah. Because they want something out of you.
I can see that. That's a good way to put it. Another thing, like disciplining people was something a lot of people were having problems with, especially I think newer people joining the Air Force. Even like when I joined, like I was uncomfortable disciplining people, and I was kind of getting used to it. And then Brownlee said something that like really just struck with me, and he said like people like structure. Who wants to come to an air traffic control facility where there's no structure and no one knows what's going on, right? So I agreed with that. And then he's also like, people actually like discipline. They like knowing when they're doing something wrong, and they like hearing it from someone that they admire or look up to. Because then you're like actually like realizing what you can do, and just hearing like kind of understanding that beforehand, and Brownlee saying it and seeing how Brownlee ran his tower here, you could like see that like people liked him over tasking them. He liked him following up. And then he would be like, hey, good job. You know, he would do that, and it's like a simple concept that he had figured out, and you could just see like that's how he was really successful. Something I pulled from him.
Yeah, and I agree with him. I agree. Right, yep. People do like structure. We all do. That's something that. You get out of reading too, yep. Right? People may not understand that that's a concept. Mm-hmm. out of some sort of book, right? But they may understand it from an example or what their experience is.
Yeah, such a good way to put it. Don't want to interrupt. But like, yeah, I've read it. I like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And then I never actually saw someone do it and say, hey, look, this is how I do this.
Yeah, 100%, right? That's like what ALA gives a formal PME, right? Professional Military Education. ALA literally takes all those tools that those folks learned in Airman Leadership School and NCO Academy and actually help them apply those things, right? Same concept. But yeah, man. So there's a small crowd out there. There's a small little populace out there that won't like structure.
Must be very small.
It is. And you want to know the targeted audience?
I do.
It's going to be some senior NCOs out there that think that they're in charge and their way is better.
Yeah.
Because they have blinders on as well.
Yep.
Right? And so they won't approach it in an open-minded posture.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever the new concept, the new theme, no matter what it is, if it goes against what they think in their head because they have blinders on, they won't like that structure.
Yep. Yeah, Chief Woods, he put me on that book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And it was basically, a lot of it was about ego and how to remove your ego to not just decide, hey, this is how I got here. This is the only way to do it. I'm going to make everyone do it this way. To like be open to realizing like there's so many different ways to be successful.
Yep. I'm going to give you another one, right? Okay. It's in the book. I don't want to turn this into, I hope that I don't offend anybody by mentioning the Bible and things like that. I'm a religious individual. That's a spiritual pillar that I have as well. I'm a Christian. I know that all folks have different faiths or deities and things like that, but ego, right, equates to pride, right? Would you agree with that?
Yes.
All right. Now, this is a project that you can do, right? It's probably better that you do it on like a laptop or whatever, right? Some sort of gadget. Pull up the Bible, right? Search pride. And I challenge you to find it where pride means something good even once.
Okay.
In the Bible.
I'm guessing I'm not going to be able to.
You're not going to find it. You're not.
Okay.
But don't take my word for it. Check it out.
Yeah, I'm trying to just formulate a sentence where pride is obviously a good thing and can only be considered good, and I'm struggling to think of a like pride in your country. I get, it's really hard to hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, there's some examples out there that pride could be good though, really, but in the Bible there's none. And so,
as an individual thing, it is tough to not relate it to a bigger team or cause.
100%.
Yep.
100%. That's a good way of saying it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and that goes back full circle, right? Humility, be humble. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's key to, there's a lot of great leadership tools, but that's one that people should no kidding practice all the time, use all the time.
Yeah.
Yes. And when you think about let's talk about commanders, right? When you think about your most favorite commanders out there, right? It's because they're connected, right? They're connected to the people. They were connected to you. You felt like there's some sort of linkage there.
Colonel Hoyt did that.
Yeah, and then when you sit there and you really dissect that, that's because when they were on their command tour, right, they approached a lot of that interpersonal relationship building and things like that from a humble manner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Makes perfect sense. Being here, I think I'm very people-friendly, people-oriented. I think that's one of my better strengths. And I can think of when I was younger, I had chief controllers that didn't do that, and I was just afraid to tell them things, afraid to talk to them, afraid to tell them, like, this is what's going on in the facility because they're just going to probably punish me or, like, tell me some new rule that I now have to follow. Yeah. So it is really interesting to hear that.
People don't like conflict, man. Sure, and that's just human nature, right? People just... If they had a choice in the matter, they prefer not to choose some sort of conflict.
Yeah.
Conflict's good, though. It can be healthy, right? Conflict can force another way of thinking. It can force diversity.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but when it comes to like discipline and that type of conflict, no one really. That's not a fun thing to do. It's a necessity, but it's not fun. No one gets enjoyment out of that.
Yeah. Sometimes I think there's people I know that do enjoy conflict, but yeah, for the most part, I'd say 98% of people.
Those folks right there shouldn't be leaders with large teams.
Mm-hmm.
But, even giving them their shot and things like that, they need a mentor. They need some sort of growth and things like that. If they absolutely look for conflict and things like that, because really that disrupts the setting, especially if we're talking about a work setting and things like that. No one, for us military folk, no one puts on their uniform. And I said this so many times. Nobody puts on a uniform and say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to screw up today where the whole situation turns chaotic.
You're right. Nobody. I agree with you. Nobody does that.
Nobody. And so if we can keep that right, like one in the forefront things in our minds, then we should also think secondly to that, how am I affecting that individual even if they do screw up?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or this team. Right, yeah. Barking out orders and things like that. They may be a necessity depending on the situation and really timing. Mm-hmm. So if the timeline allows for a discussion, inclusion, you know what I mean, then that's the way to go. But if not, if it's time sensitive and you got to bark out some orders that's going to cause some conflict, and then you can explain later, then obviously that has to happen as well. But for the most part, people shouldn't really look for conflict.
Yeah.
It's just not going to be helpful. You're not going to be able to solicit and recruit all your workers, all your teammates and peers. You're not going to do that. And that's not the most effective way. So if you're not operating in the most effective means, then you need to probably make some adjustments as a leader.
Yeah. If you're always having conflict with your people, they're not going to really want to talk to you because they know it's coming and they probably don't want that.
Man, Colin Powell said that too, man. Like, if you what you want to do is get them loyaled up, right? Mm-hmm. You can tell them go take that hill over there, and they'll take it because of your positional power, right? But if they're loyal to you, not only will they take that hill, they'll die absolutely trying to the last person.
Yeah.
And take the bullet for you when you're right behind them or right alongside of them or leading it.
Yeah. I haven't read that Colin Powell story, but that sounds
man. That's when that's one of the things that he was mentioning when his final moments in uniform, actually.
Okay.
But you can probably Google Colin Powell, right? And it'll probably bring that quote up.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it word for word, right? But it's something on the line to that.
I think a lot of times when I repeat stories or things I've read, I don't hit them word for word, or even experiences with people. You're never going to hit it perfectly.
Yeah.
I do like it. I do think people don't wake up deliberately trying to intentionally ruin the work center, but people very often unintentionally do it, and it's up to their peers or their people around them to be like, hey, you are unintentionally ruining this place.
Yeah, and so it can be harder depending on, the ranks of the individuals, right? Yeah. And so that's where not judging should come in play, because like you mentioned, it's unintentional. They may not know how they're affecting folks, right? For me, it's pretty easy, man.
Yeah.
Just based on the rank. When I mention it, then typically they get on board on it. And then if they don't like it, then I usually find out down the road through the grumblings.
Yeah.
But, I wish that if we had time to talk about things, no matter what the rank is, that they would just approach me and I can give them my reasonings. I try to give the whys now because I think that's really important dealing with these newer generations.
Yes, it is.
People want to know that, yep. and a lot of times it isn't at fault. I'm not perfect, but it's no fault of my own that I won't get the whys. I want to get the whys. I just may not have the time to get the whys, or I may not be able to translate who the messenger that I'm sending that message to give the whys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do.
So a lot of this also depends on communication talents and those sort of things as well, right? But just trying to grow folks and things like that. But I tell you what, I tell anybody and everybody out there that they could literally come to me and tell me, hey, Chief, what you did there or the direction you're going, I don't like it.
That's good to hear. Yeah.
And I will accept that. And we'll sit down and we'll me, you, and Callis and the individual will walk through it, right? Because I try not to make any decisions in a vacuum. This is my 7th facility I've managed.
That's a lot of facilities.
I'm guaranteeing I'm probably the most experienced facility manager as far as the number of facilities that I managed, garrison and deployed, out of our whole entire career field.
Yeah. I can't think of anyone with more. I don't know what Chief Davis is at, but something I want to inquire about. So
he has more MAGCOMs than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got 6 more months here at least. And being that open, I don't think I've known you were willing to let an airman or a staff sergeant come to you with what they disagree and find the time to sit down and talk about it. And to hear you're willing to do that, anyone that listens to this is like now realizes that, like, it's you've got it. They've got your ear anytime they want it, which is something. 7 facilities ago, 6 facilities ago, do you think you had that policy?
No, not at all, man.
Yeah, so it takes maturity.
It does. So you've probably heard me say this. I said it a lot. Master Sergeant Clark and Chief Clark are 2 different people.
Okay.
Right? I also floundered as a Master Sergeant, man, as a facility manager. I thought I knew it. I had been an Assistant Chief Controller twice already. Very short, sporadic times. I even sat in the seat. But to be honest, my focuses were a little bit different than what they are right now.
Yeah.
As a chief, I'm really highly focused about developing mentor and training. And as Master Sergeant, I was just trying to stay above water and feel the gap roll,
yeah,
right, and keep the ops going. I had some great mentors and things like that, like I mentioned, but Rollins taught me almost everything that I used to this day. And as a Master Sergeant, I knew, documentation and training was something that I had to put some focuses on.
Yeah.
Another good mentor, man, and I learned it. I didn't get to sit with him very long, was Johnny Turner.
Okay.
Right. And another one, Johnny Turner, man, good dude. Another one is Martha Wilkinson, man, the most hardest working air traffic controller out there. I know other people will probably say Zelda Montoya is their favorite, but Martha's my favorite. I didn't get a chance to sit there and work with Zelda, but Martha, man, she taught me so much, so much.
Yeah.
So she's one of those individuals like the Colin Powell scenario that I told you about. Like, if Martha told me charge that hill and I knew it was going to be, I'm taking a bullet for her, I'm going to charge that hill, homie.
Yeah. So I want to, like, things like what Scott Rollins is doing, what Martha is doing, that's what I want to figure out. Like, how did they get you willing to do that? What was it that they did that made you willing to do that?
It was painful. It took maturity for me. I had to be open-minded about it. I also had to realize that no matter what my rank, because with Martha, I was a senior.
Okay.
Right. I was a MAGCOM functional. No, she was civilian. She's still
okay.
civilian. I don't know. She want me to put her pay scale
Okay,
out there. She make money.
All right, good for her. Sounds like she deserves it.
She make money, but and she can be a bit brutal on her feedback and her approaches. Right. She would darn sure make sure that you will master humility, perfection,
and master perfection.
Yeah, man,
that's a hard thing to do.
Master perfection and communication. So when I say perfection, I should say perfection of product.
Okay,
you know what I mean. She has her own way of writing, her own writing style, which is phenomenal. She's a phenomenal writer, and you are absolutely going to be willing to adapt to her style. Yeah,
it's interesting.
Put it that way.
You got to put me in contact with Scott and Martha, and I just want to email them. Like I want to email. So Scott was a master when you met him. I'm a master now. I want to email him and be like, why did you decide to just pick a staff sergeant and give him a bucket list for 14 more years? Like, what made you want to do that?
Yeah, it's
such a unique thing that can't be explained by anyone except for him, unless you've got that from him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
I want to know that. I want to know that answer. We could send him this. Like, I mean, we talked about it about 4 times now.
Yeah.
But that would be something really cool. 2 more questions I really want to ask. I know you got to get to golf.
Okay.
One of them is something I think is really cool that we're doing here. I know Osan did it first, and we're doing it now. We have Marines training here. We're about to get our second group. We're also training Koreans. What is it that made you come here and decide, man, let's get a bunch of non-Air Force people working in our facility?
Yeah, so Osan, so when you say Osan did it first, Osan is included in the whole entire initiative. They necessarily execute it first just because I couldn't get here fast enough and execute as well.
Okay.
And I know they did the AFN and all that just to let us folks know that, you know, they running that stampede over there and beating Kunsan. But to be honest, it's the same initiative. I can't take credit on that. That's Billy Davis.
Oh,
That's Billy Davis. So that's under a larger, under a more grander scheme, right? So that's under a SWAT program that we're putting up right now. In fact, he's waiting on me to link up with a couple other bases. I got to link up with Yokota and Osan and get their buy-in on, not necessarily their buy-in, but their successes and their failures and things like that, and see what resources that each installation is going to be providing, and then capture it all in a half-level MOU.
okay.
He's waiting on that. And so that's something I got to make a priority over here in the next couple months now that I got a little bit more white space. All the Scotch are gone.
For now.
For now. But with that, the SWAT program itself, so what we're going to do is now I didn't realize that we're going to include Yokota.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know they had Marine.
Right.
There.
I remember it's Kadena, but I think it's Yokota.
Okay.
But so we're going to give them 3 locations, Kunsan, Osan, and I think it's Yokota. Mm. And we're gaining 3 for Master Sergeants. We're initially going to put some Master Sergeants in there because we got to pick the right people on that, right? So we'll get Cherry Point, we'll get Miramar, and then we're also going to get Yuma.
Okay.
Right? So South Carolina, Arizona, and then who don't want to?
San Diego?
Yeah, who doesn't want to
miserable
be out on the beaches in San Diego, right? So right now those will be developmental, but they'll be our first true joint positions, joint billets. So we're going to get some joint billets. And then the initiative is great, man, because really for me, I'm looking at capability, and I get free capability here at Kunsan, just like Maddox gets free capability at Osan. And then soon Yokota get that, right? So they're not on our books. That's free manning for us.
It is nice,
right? Ain't it nice?
Yeah.
And that gives the facilities an initiative to make sure they do it and do it right, and try to do it as expeditious as possible within the rounds of being in the standards.
Yep.
Because it helps out. It gives staffing flexibility.
It is.
Yeah. And then so what ended up happening is we'll do those tours. It'll be tours. It's not going to be a 1 year hitter quitter for our stateside locations. Like, you're going there, you're going to be assigned there, you're going to be stationed there. Yeah. Right. We'll probably code 50 you. That's something I got to get with Billy Davis on what's the right code. Is it 2 years or is it 3 years? I would say 2 years. It's only 3 locations, 3 billets right now, maybe 6. That it won't be that expensive for the Air Force to move them into, and then that way we can start getting that joint understandings and knowledge for our leaders, right? Yeah. And then as we grow them, those master sergeants to be chiefs, right? We'll hopefully have enough of a populace there that it'll be a lot more grander, seeing as we're fighting joint anyway, right? That may evolve over time, but initially, like I said, we're going to put master sergeants in there and get after it. And I really need to get on that. I've burned 5 months already here. Yeah. And that was one of the things that Billy Davis charged me to do, and I really need to support him on that, and I really need to get after it. So sorry, Billy, I'm getting it. I sent you an email already on it. He fired back some questions. I got back with him, but I got to link up with the basis and just start hammering out the MOU.
Yeah, it sounds like such a for a simple cost of 3 to 6 master sergeant from our career field, like just the amount of things that they can learn and bring back. Like, I feel like I learned so much from these 2 Marines, E5 and E4. They were E4s when they got here. They're just so different in the way they carry themselves, the way they behave, their actions. It's very refreshing. It's very refreshing to see just a different perspective and how happy they are to see the way we do our things.
It is. So they bring a tremendous amount of value with them, right? So their approach to professional arms is just noticeably different.
Yes.
And then they embrace warrior ethos, right? That's something that only our battlefield airmen, I would say, really get after. The rest of the Air Force, which all the other branches kind of, nickname us Chair Force, right? Yeah. When you think of that labeling is kind of where a majority of our tribes sit as far as a mindset and some sort of ethos there. I think it's just nothing but goodness. Yeah. Right. We'll build some warriors, and I'm glad that we were able to do that here in the Koreas, because really, when you look at the closest thing to embracing contingency, it's going to be in the Koreas.
Yep.
It's going to be in Pacific Theater.
Yeah.
For now, depending on the scenario, it may end up being USAFE.
Yeah.
But for right now, it's definitely in the PACAF. So that's all Billy Davis, man. That's not me.
Okay.
Now, as far as ROCAF, that's something that Kunsan was doing when we were at Osan.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Kunsan was approaching that, and then
Approaching it, they didn't do it though.
well, they didn't. No, they didn't. I thought they were already running ROCAF controllers training and things like that, but at some point in time that broke, and maybe because the positions were gapping so much from the chief position. But at the end of the day, the documentation was already out there, and that right there is Scott Jansen. He just recently retired, so he was the PACAF MFM for you folks out there that don't know him, and that was his foresight in seeing that. Right, I knew it was a theme. So to be truthful, when I showed up here, ROCAF approached me, right? And so I was like, oh, man, I thought you guys were already doing that. And they're like, no. And so to truly embrace our friendship, right, and inclusion, right, we need to make sure that we're looking after ROCAF and give them opportunity, just like they're providing us a lot of opportunity as well as here. And so with our controller force and the RAPCON down there, they're pretty much idle, man. Mm-hmm. They're running, precision approach radar and things like that. But other than that, they're not really doing much. And so when you got fair weather and things like that, you're not running a lot of parts. It has to be very deliberate to give them training. And they still need to be able to be competent in their skill set. So they're getting a lot of rust on them, if they had development at all. And so, I was like, absolutely. We need to make sure that we take care of them as much as we're being taken care of, and we're taking care of ourselves here. And guess what? Like I mentioned earlier,
Free Manning.
That's free Manning.
Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know what ROCAF is, it's Republic of Korea, South Korea, Air Forces. So basically, we have 5 controllers in our facility, and now 2 of them are training with us, and it's awesome. And Jen and Amy are both phenomenal people. A lot of people probably know Amy.
Yeah.
She's been here for a while, but it's just really cool to have them training. And Jen is one of my best friends here. He shows me all around Korea, and just just having a Korean take you around Korea is phenomenal.
Jen is wonderful, man. I'm a big fan of both of them. Yep. I'm a big fan of all of them.
Yep.
But I tell you what impresses me the most with Jen is that he has gone way out of his way to be for cohesion, right? Mm-hmm. To be compatible with us and things like that. Like he shows up to everything.
Yep.
Right? I mean, he does his work thing, right? But outside of work, he's still with us.
Yep.
Like we truly are a band of brothers. And I know that some of the other ones have family and things like that, but he does too.
Yeah.
Right? That dude is amazing, man.
Yeah, he's getting married next month.
Yeah.
His wife is here, or I guess fiance right
fiance
now.
Right now.
Awesome,
Yep.
Yeah, he is awesome. Even when I had this idea of getting him a jersey, just like this.
Yep.
And so many people pitched in. Like I actually don't think I paid any money towards it
right.
myself. It's just everyone else paid for it.
It doesn't surprise me, man. Like who doesn't like Jen? I mean, that dude, I'm telling you, for anybody that would meet him and know him, at least in the controller world, right, would 100% include him in on everything because he's going to be there.
Yeah, and anyone who gets this far into it, you got to ask Jen about his story on why he joined the military. I won't tell it for him. I won't say it is good, but he joined watching American war movies, and he was influenced through it. But he tells it. It's a great story that he has for why he joined the military, and you have to hear it because he's a great dude.
I'm gonna have to ask him that.
It's a good one. He might have to have a little alcohol to be as honest as he was with me.
I'll ask him on a Thursday.
At a Van Boekel. Yeah, that's a good idea.
At Van Boekel.
Cool. So final question, Chief, before you send you away on your golf course is something I like to do with controllers. I think you're the third one I'm gonna ask this to is, and as a sports guy, when I was probably 03, I don't know when I was a middle schooler. I think 03, 04. They did this thing where I was watching the AFC Championship, and they built the perfect quarterback, and they took the mind of Peyton Manning, the heart of Tom Brady, the legs of Michael Vick, arm of Brett Favre, and the body of, I think, Dante Culpepper or maybe Ben Roethlisberger. But they built the perfect quarterback. And so now with controllers, I want to build the perfect controller with 5 categories. I'll tell you the categories, and I'll go through them again one by one so you can pick these people and what made them special.
Okay.
Best overall air traffic controller, most book smart, most natural leader. What was the fourth one? It was nicest. Who's the nicest person you just met? And then if you could go back 27 years or 23 years when you became a controller and have one person follow you for your whole career, who would that person be? So starting with the best controller.
Yeah, so best controller, I tell you what, man. And so that is a hard question to ask a person.
Yep.
And then are we talking tower? Or are we talking RAPCON?
It's up to you.
Right? I mean, that's
pick
hard.
one.
That's hard to figure out right there. But I can tell you, I think that dude's name is Marks. He was at Kadena with me from 2007 to 2009. I mentioned it to you before. Definitely by far one of the best displays of air traffic control competency I've ever saw in my career. And let me tell you, man, 8 years, Nellis, that's red flags all day, every day. Being at Osan 4 times, I mean, that's you. When you look at it, Kirkuk and all those other places, like those are busy locations, right? But this dude, it wasn't unnatural for your scope at Kadena when they had the RAPCON to just get overwhelming fast.
Yeah.
Just crazy.
Yeah, I can see that.
Crazy fast. And man, I remember someone was going down the tubes, and there's a lot of airliners. There's like 30 some odd planes, man. Dude jumped
With a bunch of civilians on them.
Bunch of civilians, man. When I tell you Kadena RAPCON was crazy, it was crazy. Dude unplugged, old boy, plugged in without missing a beat, saved the day, right? And then it was like, okay, y'all got this, come get this. He wasn't even plugged in. He was no time for a brief, none of that. It was just like literally keep from planes hitting, scraping, right? Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, like everyone was huddled around this dude. And I want to say his last name is like Marks or something like that, Matthew Marks or something like that. I can't remember what his name was, but by far,
yeah,
yes,
good. Yeah, that's a cool story.
Yes, that dude brought it. Right. And I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then Antoine Abrams in the tire environment, man, that dude, he got after it no matter what. That dude was good, man. He's out in the Far East right now. He retired out in the Far East. And Kevin Lee was a good one too. I remember at PSAG, Kevin Lee was a good one. But yeah, by far, those are tower controllers from my perspective. But yep.
Nice. Yeah. All right. But most book smart.
Book smart. This can be argued, but I would think there's a good amount of people out there would say McGarrett Bell.
Okay.
McGarrett Bell is crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy smart.
Yeah.
I mean, smart.
Did he get out? Did he make chief? Or did he get out sooner?
Nah, he got out as a master sergeant. Yep. He got
out. He retired or he got out?
No, he retired.
Okay, I was like, oh, that's a smart person.
Yeah. He's still floating. He's still floating around in the GS 2152 world in the States right now. I think he's down south somewhere. McGarrett Bell, that dude was crazy smart. I mean, beyond air traffic knowledge, dude would just watch damn Jeopardy and challenge everybody to every single word, every single day.
I don't feel like I don't want to hang out with that guy.
Yeah, man, that dude was crazy smart, man.
I thought you were gonna pick Chief Turner just because like I know like his thing is they can't take the test away from me. Well, they did if he was still in, but I always heard that dude was very smart.
So there's several of them that I would mention, and JT is a smart dude, right? Highly knowledgeable. I mean, he did half his career as a chief, man.
It's a long time.
Yeah, and after losing his stripe twice.
Yeah, it's a really long time.
Yeah, man. He lost stripe twice and still made chief and still ended up doing just less than half his career.
Okay.
Like I want to say he made it chief at record pace, and within that record pace, because he lost his stripes early in his career, it didn't really miss a beat on him.
That's impressive.
Yeah. JT got some wonderful stories, man.
Yeah, I'd like to somehow bring him on this thing.
Yeah,
I barely know the dude. I just always hear everybody knows this guy.
Yeah, man. I want to tell his business and nothing like that, but dude has like incredible stories even prior to the military.
Okay.
Yeah, like his story at high school. I won't say it. 'Cause I won't be a spoiler alert. It's just like, what? Yeah.
I feel like I'm getting all sorts of people I just need to hit up from these last 15 minutes. Yeah, man. Need to ask all these people.
Write them down, man. They on Facebook.
Most natural leader in air traffic.
Most natural leader in
best
air traffic. Best leader for me, that's going to be my mentor, man. And I know I'm biased. A lot of people are going to argue about that because there's some really great leaders out there. But, I'm a big Scott Rollins fan.
Yeah.
And when I look at like doing things right and being able to balance, charisma with, that disciplining approach that some leaders lack, he's mastered all that. Super smart, super knowledgeable. Yeah. And a phenomenal controller. Dude's still controlling.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think what's great about this platform is like 155-ish mark is when you're getting like, you could send that to him, and that'll probably mean a lot to him because I bet.
He already knows, man. Yeah. Man, he already knows how I feel about him.
Awesome.
When the day I put on Chief the stripe, I flew him in
to Osan.
Yeah, I flew him in because
I
it was
feel like I actually might have met him because I was there for that.
Yeah, because it was shortly after I got there. I was putting on my stripe, right?
He spoke at the O Club for you, right? Or he was there?
He did, yeah. It was at the O Club.
It's like maybe your height, white guy?
Yep, that's him.
Okay, yeah, I did meet him. That's awesome.
That's him.
We got a connection now.
Yeah, man. And so that's a good highlight that you brought up, man. Like, that dude, man, he saw something in me, and it's phenomenal, right? And we're different, man. We have different backgrounds, different in color and things like that. And he still invested and took care of me.
Yeah.
Couldn't ask for anything.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I'm like surprised. Like, it's kind of cool to like see how small the air traffic court is. I've actually met the dude, shook his hand like at your chief promotion. Just kind of, you forget about it until you're telling the story of this guy you flew out to Osan.
Yeah, man. Flew him out, man. Brag about him on the stage. He deserved it. And dude makes a phenomenal Bloody Mary, man. Like, so if he comes out here, which he should, when COVID, kind of calms down a little bit, right? That I'm gonna have him make some Bloody Marys, man. He would have all the watch supervisors at his house.
That's nice.
Yeah, and within limits, we had to find our, the responsible ride back and things like that. But he'd make Bloody Marys.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds like a leader to me. If you can make a Bloody Mary.
Yeah, man. And we just meshed and try to get his vision.
Yeah.
His leadership approach. Yeah.
And this isn't something I really started appreciating until recently, but just going to CCAF graduations, promotion ceremonies, just being there for people. Like, a lot of times they don't even want to be there, but when they see like you found the time to show up, like I can like see it in their face that they're like, whoa, what the hell are you doing here? Like, this is really nice for you to be here for me. So for him to fly out to Korea to be there for you is way more sentimental than what I'm trying to get at.
It is. It's more of a appreciation on what individuals are going through and their accomplishments, their milestones that they've reached. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That shows true investment as well.
Yep.
And we should make light of CCAF graduations and things like that. I know people out in the Air Force world don't take it seriously or don't look at it like the degree that it's accredited to be, right? Mm-hmm. But it's a huge thing, man. That's a real associate's degree.
Yeah.
Right? And folks need to really embrace that because people put their time and their efforts into that. They had to do well at different levels of some sort of education program to be able to get that.
I agree. I didn't want a CCF till I was told to get one, so I was like, okay, I'm going to do this thing. But it just opened up the avenue to realize like school is not hard. It just takes a couple hours a week. And like now I feel really accomplished and I haven't paid a dime. It's insane the amount of people that are missing out on this free master's degree that we can get. Yeah,
man, I'm telling you, and it's a jump start in education right there. This, those CCAFs right there, that they should get that and look at that as a jump start, right?
Yeah,
get you used to the behavior, going to school, and just kind of absorbing knowledge.
Yep, cool. So let's go with nicest. Who's the nicest controller you've ever met?
I would say Dustina Koblitz.
Okay. What was so
She's
nice
retired now. She's just a gentle heart, man. And her approaches, she has mastered interpersonal talent to be able to give you feedback, approach you in a manner that just feels welcoming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dustina.
Okay, that's a good one.
There's a lot of others out there, but immediately comes to mind is Dustina.
Yeah. Okay, and the final question is, if you could go back 23, 24 years ago when you started doing air traffic, knowing everyone you can take one person with you and have them for your whole career, who would you pick? You can't pick Scott Rollins. Sounds like it's too easy of a pick.
So you're looking at like from any rank?
Yeah, so like, don't pick me, but let's say you pick me. So now me and you are airmen together. like, but that's still me and my personality. Just someone you've met that would be like the perfect person to have at every base.
Yeah, I would have Carl Mahan. He retired, man. You know Carl.
Yep, I love that dude.
And so Carl's the individual that's going to tell you what you need to hear instead of what you want to hear.
Yep.
And he's a hard worker. He's rough around the edges. He did everything his way. But the unfortunate thing about Carl is he didn't have like a true mentor until I would say me.
To Osan?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was late on life, and then his record was completely destroyed by other leaders just based on they didn't understand, and he wasn't going to sit there and sugarcoat nothing for you. I wish that I could take him my whole career, not because of what he was going to do for me, but really what I was going to do for him.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he would have made a phenomenal chief, man. Yeah. And so based on the lack of a mentor and being able to polish him up and teach him different leadership approaches and those sort of things, he fizzled out at the master sergeant grade, and it's tragic. The career field needs dudes like that and gals like that. Mm-hmm. And so I just it hurt me, man. I went to his retirement. In fact, man, he doing things his way. He made me the damn presiding officer. Ain't that crazy?
That sounds like it.
I was like, yo, man, this is an officer's role. What are you talking about, right? So he
had to do this.
He had an officer start it, and then the officer, like 10 seconds into it, immediately hands me the mic and say, you know him better than me. Why don't you do it?
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was like, this is crazy.
I didn't get to prepare anything.
Yeah, but I knew his whole career, man. Like, because you know, me and him had been stationed together before. I think it was 2006.
Okay.
At Osan. I was going to fight that dude, man. He was a bully. and we chat and laugh about that scenario all the time. He never backed down either. It was crazy, man. Like, he was still get mopped up.
Yeah.
He never backed down. And I had a whole gang with me. It was just him.
He's like an idiot.
He still didn't back down, man. He was going to take those black eyes.
That's
so cool. But either way, man, getting back to it, I wish I would have met him a lot sooner or stayed in his life, because he went off to Europe and I went to Kadena.
Okay.
And stayed in his life just to be able to mold and polish him, because, man, I'm telling you, you think I'm going to toot my own horn. I'm a phenomenal leader. I would like to say that. I know my self-worth. I'm good at what I do, right? I don't think you'll find a person that would say that I'm not good at what I do. And he would have been a lot better.
That says a lot.
He would have been a lot, 2 times better than me.
Yeah, I'm that 100% increase is a lot. But I'm really glad you said him, because I met him at Osan. He was a radar and I was tower, so our interaction should have been very minimal. But same with Jerome Cole, even Lugaro. Like, a lot of these RAPCON master sergeants, even McGee Morquecho, was that it? A lot of those people were like really invested in me as just a tower watch soup. It was really interesting to see how many of those guys who had nothing to do with me really, like, still found time to like hit me up and write me LOE. Like, it was weird. It was really cool. It's flattering. But Carl Mahan, he actually, during my going away speech at Osan, he had said something like a few weeks prior, and he said, whenever you get to your first base, the first thing people need to know about you, John, is that you're there to work and nothing else. Like, let them know that you're here to be a controller first. And like, that was like his like parting words to me after like all we really did is get at a bar a couple of times and talk about random shit. Yeah. And for him to say that like was really cool. And then at my going away speech, I like repeated that to everyone because I thought that was really cool. And he was there. And then when I made master, you know, someone I hadn't talked to since I left Osan, he was like the first person when the list came out to hit me up. He said, I told you you would make master, because he would always say that. You know, and so it was really cool for you to pick that, because seeing him as he was like a 23, 24 year master at that time. Yeah. I just wouldn't have thought like for that to be that your guy, like your carry along. So it was really cool. I haven't thought about him in a while. So that's
and I hope I don't offend anybody by saying that. I mean, that's a hard decision right there. To be able to pick out of a bunch of talented folks, man. There's a lot of them out there that are really, really talented. So I hope no one feels sideways by it.
Left out, yeah.
Yeah, but that's just one that I feel like the Air Force lost out on, that if I would have been in his life a lot sooner, in his career a lot sooner, or I shouldn't say sooner because he was a staff sergeant when I met him. I was a tech at the time. That if I would have just stayed investing in him.
You would have Scott Rollins him.
Yeah. And because I was investing, man, I was mentoring as a tech sergeant too, man, folks. Yeah. And yeah, I pulled them along with me. I get promoted, they got promoted with me. Jim Michaels is one.
Okay.
I was a master sergeant when I met her. She was a staff sergeant.
Where at? Travis?
Travis,
Okay.
yep. There's a ton of folks, man, that I pulled up with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still pulling some folks up, like Derek Berry out there at Holloman right now, trying to get him. Matter of fact, if I can.
He's a senior right now, right?
He is a senior, man. If I can, there's a couple of them that if the Air Force had a program, I can take off my chief stripe right now and ride out in the sunset. If they guarantee that the person I hand my stripe to will put it on and continue, I would do it.
For Derek Berry?
He's one of them, yeah.
You only get to give it up to one
person. That's a hard pick, man.
I bet.
That's a hard pick, right? Callis is another one, to be honest.
Okay.
And he's at the master sergeant, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of them, man. There's a lot of folks out there that if I can take that stripe, I would have to sit there. I would talk to my mentor. Mm-hmm. We'll have to go over some, right? If I can just take it off and because the one I'm giving it to, I know they're going to make huge impact.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That would be a cool program if every chief got to pick their replacement chief. I'd like to see like the Air Force just run that for like 4 years, see what happens, and then switch it up if it doesn't work. Like let's just try something new again.
Absolutely, man. And so my pick, just to give the audience something, some why on that, right? My picks ain't gonna be the ones that are shiny talents that have the records to get them promoted already. All my picks are going to be the ones that are at a disadvantage. That
underdogs.
The underdogs. Yep.
Yep.
Full circle, right? The underdogs that are phenomenal leaders, right? But didn't have the right support throughout their career, and they're never going to make chief. Derek Berry will make chief, though. Yeah. He's not an underdog.
That's good.
Let me throw that disclaimer out there. Yeah, that dude, he has the records. But at the end of the day, excluding him, my picks, my selection, my bucket of folks, I'm gonna pick an underdog.
Yeah, I can't say I love that idea, but it's your stripe to do, and I could see some like Carl Mahan. He would deserve it, So
he would, man, because really at the end of the day, those folks that have those records, they're going to be promoted.
Yep,
they're going to move on. They're going to get promoted, and they're going to do their thing, right? And then there's going to be some folks out there that's going to be promoted to have the record, and now are shitty leaders.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I cussed on this podcast.
I did, yeah, I noticed you weren't doing it. I was trying not to.
Yeah, no, it's all good, right? If I was going to do it, I wanted to make sure that I did it at a foot stomp moment, right? And that's my foot stomp.
Shitty leaders.
Yeah, there's some of them out there in our career field, and here's the kicker, man. They know they are. They know they're ineffective.
What do you think when someone knows they're ineffective and a shitty leader? What should they do about it?
They're not going to do anything about it because they're selfish. Everything's about them, and they continue to make it about them.
Yeah, but if you could get in their ear for 3 seconds and give them advice, and they're going to take it.
I do that, right? So I tell them the feedback on that, right? It's not about you. It's about the airmen. How many times you always heard me say that? It's about the airmen, right? Take care of your people. It's about the airmen. Don't make it about you, right? Loyal up as much as you loyal down, and take care of your airmen.
Yeah,
and that's key too, right? There's that thing, loyal up. You got to loyal up.
Yeah.
As much as you loyal down. A lot of folks, man, they get to the senior NCO stripe and they're too focused downward. They're focused on the people and the people only. Not realizing that there's leaders out there that got to take risks, and taking those risks, right, are making hard decisions. You got to loyal up. As senior NCOs, we have to loyal up as much as we loyal down. You got to be able to take the commander's intent, right, and execute that. For air traffic control, we like to say, "Oh, it's against the AFI." Well, then when you throw it in their face, like, "Well, can the commander assume risk?" Oh, but it's the tier. I get it, but the commander owns all the people.
Yeah.
And the commander saying they're accepting this risk at their level. It's got to be an appropriate level. Don't get me wrong, right? But if it's on the wing, right, wing down, they own the people, man. They're the G Series order commander.
Yeah.
You gotta loyal up as much as you loyal down.
I like that. Loyal up and loyal down. I think I've heard you say that before, and I didn't really understand it. I had like my idea, so I like that you defined it. I really like that you said around that 90-minute mark that anyone that has something for you that if they think you're doing it wrong, they can say it to you. You've told me that, and I know I had that freedom, but I didn't know everyone did. I think that's really cool. Yeah, I really look forward to hitting up Scott Rollins and Martha. I haven't talked to Carl Mahan in a while, and I need to. Yeah, I should just send that dude a message. Like, hey, man, we talked about you for like 10 minutes.
In Indiana.
Okay,
At
nice.
a guard base doing
Good
the
for him.
2152 thing.
Look at him, still
on the gas.
still serving.
Yeah,
I'm
still
gonna hit him up on the
serving,
guy. What are you still doing it?
Still serving.
But cool, Chief. I really appreciate you coming out. I do think you're a good leader. If I didn't say that earlier, I do. I'm really glad you came out here. I'm excited to see what you write on this board of mine, number 7. I know you did say blood, but I was curious if you were going to use blue or red. I only put blue or red markers in there just to see which one you were going to pick. But
yeah, man, you throw me on the spot like that, man. I am going to write in red.
Yeah, you have to. San Francisco. That's what
Niner.
But yeah, if you got any last words before I end this thing,
Gang. Huh?
If you got any last words before we hit stop and let you go golfing.
Yeah, no, man. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. I hope we get to do this again. You know, we'll put that chessboard out here. Yeah. I'm really serious about that. I think what you're doing, man, is phenomenal. I really do. And never let no one take your shine, man. Mm-hmm. Just always do you, be you, and continue to contribute. Right? Keep that open-mindedness to absorb some information. But keep doing you, man, because really people need to hear this. People need this type of theme, this setting right here, right? People need to entice you around there. Yeah. They do, man. You're a phenomenal guy. You're going to go far and do great things. You really are. I can see how Scott Rollins probably saw something in me because I see it in others. I see it in you. I do. So, again, man, I'm going to end with thank you very much. I really had fun doing this. Thank you for the brewski. It kind of set it right where I'm going to get out there if Anderson's still willing to golf. And then we're just going to, look forward to the next moment, right? Cool. So I'll come back.
Sweet. Yeah, I appreciate the words. People listening, I think, can also use those words. And, yeah, you got a lot to offer. You'll be the first one to do a round 2 if we do it. I leave in like a month or so. It'll be quick.
Yeah, make it quick, man. Make it quick. I can keep doing this for hours, man.
It's soothing. It's something about it. It's just soothing. But all right, Chief, I appreciate it. Thanks.
No doubt. By the ball.
By the ball. Thank you all for listening to Have a Tisue Podcast, episode number 7. Chief Clark and I have conversations similar to this throughout our work weeks as he is my current supervisor. It was cool to experience and share how informal conversations can be between Chief and one of his subordinates. We should have written all of this down on an Air Force Form 932 and considered it to be our midterm feedback, as this conversation was beneficial for me and one I plan to listen to again in the near future. Chief Clark is willing to be my guest again before I leave Kunsan Air Base. If that occurs, I'm hoping to have Chief Rollins phone in. I could also use help from anyone else that knows Chief Clark and has stories I can have him talk about or questions they want him to answer. The idea of having a guest back is one I haven't considered yet, but I think it could be one of the better episodes with input added by my viewers. Thanks for listening. Reach out to me or Chief with anything that was said that you found interesting and want to talk more about. Moreover, reach out if you have a story I can ask him next time he comes on as a guest. Have a Tisue Podcast is still growing, and I just broke 40 subscribers on YouTube. My current platforms are YouTube, Spotify, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, and Anchor. Thanks for listening.